and welcome to Subjective Thoughts. And our comic for today is Batman, A Death in the Family by DC. Now there is, death, violence, destruction, explosions, dangerous chemicals, shooting, did I say violence, murder, and blood in this one. So if you are in any way squeamish, you have been warned. Also, spoilers. Alright, here's the team. So, this is another one of those quite well-known stories in comics, like, The Killing Joke, Watchmen, and The Death of Superman. One of those that you've heard of already, at least once in the past. And I do want to get to quite a few of them, give them a read. And luckily, my friend Lear had a copy of Batman, The Death in the Family, the famous story where Jason Todd gets murdered by the Joker. And I, of course, to read it. And I did. And now, the whole story there was, now in the end of this trade paperback, and this is the original, this is from the late 80s, so there's like, an after by, I forgot who, but he basically says that they, wanted to do this experiment with asking the fans what they want, and also something else. And so they combined it, who are they going to kill off? So they decided on Jason Todd. And so they started, they wanted to let the fans make this, big decision. And so they got like 10,000 something calls. And the end of it wasn't, it's not like there's a large... let's say 8,000 of those wanted Jason Todd dead. It was almost, pretty even. There's just a few extra 100 that wanted him dead. So there's less of those who wouldn't have been killed off. But then he later on wouldn't have become the Red Hood. So yeah, it was just surprising to see, the small difference, really, that decided that they were going to kill him off. So, I've learned some stuff. Okay, so this is the 4 issues, but for some reason in the trade, it's split into 6 parts, which confused me. Why did they split it like that in the trade? Not collect the 4 issues, but I don't know, maybe it was better this way? I don't know, again, if you look at the back, I'm going to show you. You can see me because it's so shiny. Look, you can see here there's only 4 issues, really. So I'm just curious. And maybe each issue is just very long or something because it's curious. Anyway, so the story of this is Jason Todd, after the death of his parents. Try to understand exactly what happens in this timeline because Bruce finds Jason out on the street trying to steal his the wheels off his Batmobile, and then learns that he's an orphan. He just lost his mom and his dad's gone. And then he takes him under his wing and trains him. And he looks to be a few years older than that first image. So I don't know how he, in those years, hasn't yet resolved the death of his parents? I don't know. Okay, it's quite a deep wound to lose your parents, so... Alright, never mind, sorry I went there. Right, so he's not fully over it, and recently he's been very brash, not caring for his safety, almost getting killed, and Bruce is... very concerned about that, so he decides after talking with Alfred that he's gonna take Jason off active duty for a while, And Jason happens to hear that and gets upset and runs off. But Bruce has decided. And Jason's off to cool off in the streets, walking. And Bruce has to go and handle the Joker. There's more victims of the Joker who once again escaped Arkham Asylum. You think at some point they would just keep him constantly tied up like Hannibal Lecter style in that movie? Where he's just constantly like that all day except when they give him food and water? I mean, come on, he escaped so many times. But anyway, yeah, he escaped again, but his funds are very low. Because the government seized a lot of his things, and he really needs to replenish his coffers. So one of his henchmen, he has this warhead, this rocket, that he plans to sell to Arab terrorists. So off with his henchmen to Lebanon he flies. Now meanwhile, Jason, he's walking around and he ends up in his neighborhood. And one of his former neighbors sees him and she calls him over. And he goes to see her and she gives him, because obviously his mom died in the hospital. His dad was killed actually by by Two-Face. So no one claimed the furniture, so they got rid of everything, but she saved a box of his personal belongings and gives it to him. And he goes home and looks through it. There are photographs, letters, papers, in which he makes a shocking revelation. His mother, Catherine Todd, wasn't his biological mother. And he's like, oh. So then he goes to the Bat computer, and before that he investigates and finds in his father's address book 3 names. Because in the birth certificate, I forgot to mention this before, the stuff that the neighbor saved for him has been slightly water damaged. So on the birth certificate, the name of his mother starts with an S. So in his father's address book, he finds 3 women whose names start with an S. And he goes to the Bat computer, looks them up, and finds out where they are. One of them's this Sheila lady, the other one's Shiva, and then the last one is, what was her name? No, not Margaret. Shelby? No, not Shelby. Anyway, yes. So the 2 of them are in Lebanon, and the other one's in Ethiopia. So Jason decides then that he's not gonna wait around. He's gonna go and find out who his mother is. He's gonna track these women down and ask them. And so he goes using the credit cards that Bruce gave him and flies to Lebanon. Meanwhile, Bruce comes back and Alfred tells him that Jason has escaped, that he ran away from home. But there's also a lead on the Joker, because Bruce Betsy went and hunted around his henchmen and found out that one of them's flying to Lebanon. So he has to make a choice, either go after Jason or go and track down the Joker. He has no choice but to go after the Joker. So in Lebanon, eventually Bruce and Jason meet after he tries to talk to the first lady, Sheila. I should look this up. Yeah, before that he finds the plane the Joker got in to Lebanon. He used some military guy that owed him a favor, and he stole that plane, killed the pilot. So there's that. Yeah, he killed the pilot. And then afterwards, okay, there we go. We got Charmine. And then we got Shiva and Dr. Sheila. Okay, Dr. Sheila. Okay. Yes, well, he and Bruce, Bruce finds him there, and asks him what he's doing there, and then he tells him why he came to Lebanon. And then they go to the hotel where Charmaine is staying, but then they see that she's leaving with one of the Joker's henchmen. So, well, now they both have a reason to go after her. So they follow her and the man in their car, and although they follow them on like these gliders. They get to where they are, and it's the Joker's meeting place with the terrorists to sell them the rocket head, which, by the way, is leaking radiation, because the Joker is, well, he's no nuclear scientist now, is he? He's just a madman. So, a big problem, but he gets his money. The terrorists are planning to send the rocket to Tel Aviv, which is obviously why Sheila's there. I forgot to mention she's a secret agent of the Mossad? Yeah, Mossad would likely be. Yes, so the head of the terrorist quickly wants to go and insert the codes to shoot the rocket at Tel Aviv. The Joker and his men and the terrorists, notice Batman and Robin, go after them. Joker leaves his henchmen with the money. But then, they fight them off, Bruce and Jason. They fight, Charmaine helps them along the way. Almost gets killed, but then is saved. And then, well, of course, again, Joker is not a nuclear scientist. And he poorly probably reattached the rocket, and thus everything explodes, but is not sent. And the Joker doesn't get his money because he left it with his henchman that was near the rocket. So, that's that. His plan has been foiled. Then Batman and Robin ask Charmaine, have you ever had a baby? Have you ever been to Gotham? No, she has not. So, unfortunately, she is likely not likely. She's not Jason's mom. So then they go on to their next target. Bruce tells them, I'm going to stay here with you and help you. Next, they're going to go to the Lady Shiva. Now, of course, the Joker doesn't give up. He's going to try a new plan. And his new plan involves Ethiopia. Ooh. So he smears on makeup on himself so he doesn't look like the Joker, except the ridiculously long chin. And he flies to Ethiopia. Meanwhile, Bruce and or Batsy and Robin go to find Shiva. It's Lady Shiva, actually. I think, because she's that martial artist. The villain? She a villain? I think she's a villain. They go to the hotel where she stayed at, which is ironically the same one that Charmaine stayed in. And anyway, they get told by the desk clerk that she's been kidnapped. So they follow to the location, and they take out the whole camp. But Bruce thinks that something is wrong because this was way too easy to pick off these men. And, where is Lady Shiva? They get told by the last guy that she's in the tent, but they go in and the tent is empty. And then, because it says in her file that she's a possible mercenary, which she is. And Sheila is she works in famine relief in Ethiopia. So Bruce, Shiva knocks out Robin, and then Batman has to fight her. She proves, of course, to be a mighty challenge. He has to think fast. Robin recovers, and he's like, oh fuck, who do I help? Then he, of course, helps Batman. He knocks her out. Then Bruce handcuffs her, and he tells Robin to wait with her there. Because in this camp, it's a camp for training terrorists. That's why Shiva was there. And they also had explosives and everything. So Batman runs over, throws all of the terrorists in training into a ditch, and then blows up the tent with explosives. Then they need to interrogate Shiva, but of course she's not going to tell him. And then Bruce gives her a truth serum, which she's not very comfortable doing, but no choice. And of course she ends up not being Jason's mother. They wait until she recovers, and then they leave, and she was like, are you going to leave me here? And Batsy's like, with your skills, you'll be out of there within the hour, and I don't feel like fighting you again. So, on to Ethiopia they go. Meanwhile, the Joker already got to Sheila. He actually also knows her, and she has been doing dirty business back in Gotham. Basically, she botched this operation with this girl, and she also embezzles funds and everything. So she has to escape Gotham. She's got a good thing going on there, and of course, the Joker goes to blackmail her. He wants her to give him like 4 trucks of medicine so he can sell it on the black market. And she has no choice, or else he'll expose her. So, that happens, and then Bruce and Jason arrive. They go to the camp, and then they ask, where's Sheila, or Dr. A something. They get told, oh, she's in that tent. And Jason's all eager, runs there. Bruce is after him. They open the tent, and as soon as Bruce sees her, he has no doubt that she is Jason's mother because he has her eyes. Now, surprised in all of this, no one thought of doing a DNA test. Then again, she looks, and Bruce introduces himself, although she knows who he is. And he said, this is my young friend, Jason Todd. And she's like, Jason? She recognizes him. And so, yes, Sheila is Jason's mom. And Bruce is like, okay, I'll leave you two to get to know each other better. I'll be back in a few hours for your decision, Jason. As he's also sad. He thinks he's going to lose another partner. Because Jason might want to live with his mom. And then, so Sheila tells Jason that, about her troubles back in Gotham, how she fell in love with his dad, and she had him, but then trouble started, and she had to leave, and she was gonna call for his father once she was settled in England, But then, his father told her that, he met this woman, Catherine, and they were already married. And Sheila didn't have the funds or anything for, custody battle. And she thought of what damage that would do to him. As if she decided it was best that he grew up with, with his dad and Catherine. So that was that. And he's like, oh, but now I'm here, Mom. And, we'll have all this time together. But then she looks at the clock and tells him, you wait here, Jason. I'll be back in an hour. Why don't you help, distribute food? So he goes, and then he sees from afar, after a little while, that someone arrives in a Jeep, and although the makeup, Jason recognizes the Joker. He goes near the tent and eavesdrops, hearing of the plan and everything, thinking, oh, my poor mother, I gotta help her. And then Jason wants to follow the Jeep because his mother goes in it. Someone arrives in a motorcycle, and he grabs the motorcycle and drives after. And then they get to these, it's one warehouse where they store the medicine. The Joker's planning, though, to change it all with gas. The Joker laughing gas. She's like, what a monster you are, Sheila tells him. And he's like, you're right, Mother. Jason's listening from outside. But at least at that moment, he's smart enough to know he can't take on the Joker. So he runs back to the motorcycle and goes back to camp. He's got to find Bruce. Luckily, Bruce has already arrived. And Jason immediately runs to him and said, quick, we got a Joker problem. The guy you stole the motorcycle from, someone from the camp, are they on drugs? Anyway, Jason and Bruce get to go back to where the warehouse is, but they have another problem. Trucks are already heading out to the camp, back to the relief camp, and they're containing the gas. So they got to do something. So Bruce pulls out of his Jeep a mini copter. He's gonna fly with it to catch up with those trucks. And he tells Jason, you have to stay here. You don't do anything without me. Wait for me. And then he flies out having a bad feeling. No. Now, unfortunately, his bad feeling is correct, as you know. Jason doesn't wait. He's not gonna leave his mother there. He goes in. His mother comes out and seems to smoke. And then he approaches her. She said, oh, Jason, what are you doing here? And he's like, Mom, I can help you. And he shows her the Robin costume, which she recognizes. And she said, all right, come with me. And they go in. And she said, yeah, come this way. I got something to show you. And she betrays him. The Joker and his men are there. And she, they gang up on him and they start beating him. And Joker grabs the crowbar. I'm sure everyone knows the scene. And you see Sheila, looking away, not doing anything, and pulls out a cigarette. Meanwhile, Bruce gets to the trucks, but the snipers there, not snipers, but the soldiers there get a lucky shot and destroy his helicopter, jumps out of it. There's only two of them. He beats them pretty quickly. Then he tells the men of what's going on. They call some help. And he tells them, I need to borrow one of your trucks. And now the truck is, it's not fast. It's not going to get him there quick enough. But he does what he can in the end. And he drives there. It's like, gosh, it's going to take me 20 minutes to get there. But what choice does he have? So he starts driving. Meanwhile, the Joker has beaten Todd nearly to death. Poor Jason, my God. And his own mother, didn't even... she knows the Joker's in there and she didn't tell him that. Nothing. Not even feeling a little bit of, desire to save her son. So, he's probably, it seems like that he's dead. And, Sheila's like, what's gonna happen when Batman learns what you did to his little friend? And he's like, oh, he's a vengeful one, the Joker tells her. Looks like I'm gonna have to make sure he finds no evidence. And this is, again, there's so many people in the story that owe Joker a favor. Oh, is that true? He just keeps fucking killing them. I'm surprised he can even find people that will work for him. You go work for him, you end up fucking dead. Not even as a hazard of the job, just because he's probably gonna kill you himself at the end. So there you go. Anyway, Sheila gets tied up to a pole, and the Joker plants a bomb in there, so she has 10 minutes to live. And he's like, enjoy your time. And then he goes. Shit. So, 8 minutes pass, and Suddenly, Jason ends up waking up, and Sheila sees him and is like, Jason, you're still alive, and quick, the bomb, you gotta dismantle it, deactivate it. And Jason's like, I'm in no condition to do that. Well, yeah, no shit, how did you expect him to? He's beaten to death almost. But then Jason said, but I'll help you escape, Mom. And he unties her and tells her, go quickly. But she's like, I'm not going to leave you. Come on, I'll help you. She helps him up. They get to the door, but there's only 2 minutes left. She tells him, stay here. She gets to the door, but of course the door is locked. The Joker and his men locked in. There's no more time. And then kaboom. Oh boy, and then Batsy is, outside, but, driving there, and then he sees the explosion. He's like, oh no. And then, when we get to the next part, there's, Batsy reminiscing, maybe he shouldn't have taken Todd under his wing, and, he had all that aggression and anger over his parents' death. Which I thought of, yeah, but wouldn't the same be true for Dick Grayson? I mean, his parents were murdered by the mob as well. Granted, they're both different, to be fair, so one was affected differently than the other. Anyway, he gets there, he finds Sheila first. She obviously doesn't have a lot of time left. He slightly picks her up. She keeps saying how, Jason protected her, he covered her in the explosion, and he's such a good boy, and she didn't deserve him. And despite everything, he grew up to be such a good boy. And then she dies, and Batman says, well, now her pain is over. Then he goes to continue to look for Jason, and he finds him, and he's like, well, there's no need to even check. Jason's gone. And he picks him up, hugging him, and yeah, that was, I always thought in the story that, that moment that it was the Joker finished, because I've never read about it, I always thought that he finished him off with the crowbar, and then after that, the Batsy arrived and saw that. For some reason I thought it went like that. Not with the explosion as well. Anyway, then Batman switches back to being Bruce Wayne and calls the authorities, taking whatever's left of Jason's costume, so he wouldn't be tracked as Robin, and then telling there must have been some explosion, and he'll arrange to have the bodies delivered back to the U.S., and so he leaves, and then we have the funeral. He can't get a hold of any Sheila's old friends, and Jason was, still quite young and didn't really have anyone there. And then Alfred's like, why don't you call Master Grayson? And should I call him? And Bruce's like, no, I'll do it by myself. From now on, I'll do it all by myself. And then Bruce goes back into the Batcave. Now, while that happened, the Joker went and sold the medicine to the black market, but then he's approached by the Saudi government. Wait, Saudi? Arabian government? Anyway, what was it, Arabian government? Fuck. Let me find that. Oh, there we go. Okay, there we go. Our superior, Iranian Secret Service. Okay, Iranian. Right, the Iranian. Yeah, that was before Bruce called the authorities. So this Iranian gentleman offers the Joker a position in the Iranian government. That can't be fucking good. Not at all. So after the funeral of Jason, Bruce after that before he gets back to the US, he finds the warehouse where the Joker made the deal. But of course, he killed all the henchmen that he had. As always, of course. And, then we move on. Bruce wants to find him, of course, get revenge. In the warehouse, the Joker left him a message. Bruce follows it, gets close to the UN building, and then suddenly Superman arrives. And he's like, Kent, what are you doing here? And he's like, Bruce, there's been a new appointed UN member from the Iranian government, and there's nothing we can do, and of course, it turns out to be the fucking Joker. So now he is immune. Batsy can't touch him, all of his previous crimes are forgiven, and the USA government tells him you have to follow the rules. As if they seem to have completely fucking forgotten who the Joker is.
You are made of stupid.
I don't know what to say to that one. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? Are you nuts? You know who you're dealing with, right? Well, anyway, there's nothing that can be done. And, Bruce is losing his mind. On one hand, to follow the rules, but then he killed Jason. The next day in the evening, or at night, the Joker's supposed to give a speech in the United Nations. Of course, at night, so there wouldn't be that many people. Now, Bruce manages to get himself a viewing seat, because he wants to see what the Joker's going to do. Well, what's he going to do? He's going to kill people. Now, he can't be a member there, because of his Playboy status, but he got a spectator seat. But then he goes as Batman to the Joker and gets a confirmation from him that he has killed Jason. So he's like, now that you confirmed it, that is it. And then he disappears on him. And Batman and Joker, much like Gordon, I hate when he does that. But then the next day, because also with Superman, Superman, what are you gonna do? Actually, in front of the UN, Bruce, punches him, and Clark has to roll with the punch so he doesn't break his hand. Bruce doesn't. But anyway, that next night, Bruce is there, all the UN members and ambassadors and whatnot. Or Diligence. I think Diligence. And the Joker arrives, and all that chic outfit, and what is it that they wear there on their heads? It's not burqa, obviously, it's the male thing. Anyway, he goes in, starts giving a speech, and the man there, before he starts, a man tells Bruce, isn't this exciting? Aren't you excited to be here to witness this? Well, if that's your idea of excitement, if I knew the Joker was gonna be anywhere, I'd stay the fuck away from there. That's just me. Anyway, Joker goes up and starts giving his speech. He got a security guard right next to there on stage. He gives his speech, how he and the Iranian government have a common thing, how they're mocked and ridiculed, and blah, 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 but no more, now it's gonna be done. And then he, throws off his garb, and under there he has 2 canisters and a gun of his toxic Joker gas.
Of course!
To the surprise of absolutely fucking no one with a bit of sense in their head. Yeah, and all the sheep, as Bruce says, realize they've been led to the slaughter. So he starts shooting with it, but then the security guard grabs the gun and breaks it. And Joker's like, too late. But then the security guard turns out to be Superman. As Batman knew that he wouldn't have to lift a finger. Superman starts sucking in the Joker's laughing gas. And then he has to fly out of there in order to exhale it somewhere where it won't hurt anyone. Bruce is already in the commotion changed into Batsy. And of course the Joker has more things up his sleeve. He throws, I think, a gas bomb and then not a smoke bomb, sorry. Then he starts shooting, and of course someone dies. Surprise, surprise. And then the Joker starts running. He had, of course, an escape plan. Bruce is right, hot on his heels. He tries to escape. I forget to say this, but in Lebanon there, when he was there, was it Lebanon? I keep saying Lebanon, but I think it was. The Joker's like, how could Batman be here? He's like, oh, I'm not here too. Well, anyway, the copter waits for him, but Betsy grabs onto it before it flies away, gets into the inside. He fights with the Joker, but then the Iranian men that are there just start shooting indiscriminately, and Batman gets hit, and the Joker gets hit in the chest, Batman on the arm. But then the idiot who started shooting inside the flying fucking copter, kills the pilot. Wah wah. Well, then they start falling down. They're above the river or something. Batsy jumps out of the helicopter, hoping that finally this is it. We see We see Superman flying not far away. He goes, dives, and gets Batman out of the water, leaves him on the dock. Batman telling him, find his body. Find the body. And then Batman basically says, as always, this thing between us will... as always, this is going to remain unresolved between us. The Joker is actually dead, because Bruce knows they're not going to find a body. And that's it. That's the end of A Death in the Family. Betsy, A Death in the Family. The first cover, I'm sorry you can see me there, it was so shiny. I mean, it's a great dramatic cover. I mean, you obviously immediately understand. Batman sitting on the ground on his knees holding Jason's body. Everything black around. It's fantastic. You don't need more than that, really. And now for the art. It's got good art. This one here. There you can see. I see these are the women. That's Jason's mom, the blonde one. The Joker. If you hear any talking, that's my dad. There we go. Yeah, great art in here, really. Still confused about why it's been split into 6 parts in the story. But yeah, really good art. Okay, let me show you a bit more. I won't show you the whole thing, obviously, but still, you see there's Charlene. There's the terrorist, and that's the Joker's minion there, or his henchman. And there's the explosion. Yeah, so good stuff art-wise as well. Alright, so I read another one of those well-known stories. Now, I didn't find The Killing Joke amazing, but this I really loved. I loved the art, the story, the way it went. I can see why people love this one. Now, the question of Jason's interesting, that he was voted in the end that he was killed off. I mean, eventually characters get killed off, and, well, if I'm fair, the Robins I like best are Dick Grayson and Tim Drake. They're my favorites out of the Robins. So, I mean, honestly, if this would have happened today, I think I would have voted to get rid of what's his name? Damian Wayne. I don't know. I mean, I get Jason was, could be a bit sarcastic sometimes, and maybe a bit of a dick, but, a dickhead, I should say. But, from the bit I read about Damian, I find him quite annoying. I don't know if I would go with, kill him off, but maybe ship him somewhere, But yeah, I think it was an interesting thing that they done back then in comics. Let the audience make this big decision. Does Jason live or does he die? Now, on one hand, it would have been interesting, how the series would have continued, because if Jason wasn't killed off, we wouldn't get Tim Drake. The Batsy wasn't going to have two Robins at the same time. And I must say, I really, really liked Tim Drake, so I'm glad that he came about later. And also, you wouldn't get Red Hood, which quite a lot of people like. So yeah, I guess something good came out of it, something maybe not, for those who are huge fans of Jason Todd. But later on, they got him back as Red Hood, which was the more violent version of not of a Robin, but yeah, the whole thing with the Lazarus Pit. Now, actually, this year, DC, this year, DC released and now, of course, they had this whole decision, but there was a alternative ending. There were two endings, like the ending of him getting killed and the ending of him not getting killed. So that's why I wanted to read this already, so I could read what would have been the other option. And sadly, there's no, a bit of continuation to see how it would have continued. Because even though there's the version where he lives, I wonder if he even continues to be a Robin. Because the Joker beat him nearly to death. Even though he lives, what's his physical condition? We know what the Joker did to Barbara Gordon. Would Jason even continue being a Robin afterwards? Would he even be able to physically? He's very young, maybe he could recover, but can you recover from so much, trauma to the body? Left to be seen, but Jason did die in a very brave way. He protected his mother till the end. Even though, again, she had him as a baby and she just kind of gave him away. And not away, but she gave him to his dad. And it's not like she tried to contact him since at all. So, how much truly did she care? I also, find it funny. Although in this case, I find, in stories where you have, the parents that raised you, and you find out they're not your biological parents, and suddenly the character, the boy or the girl, suddenly, throw away all these years of growing with the parents and loving them and all the moments to go find the other parents. Which, okay, I get, being curious, who are your birth parents? But just the fact that they just discard away the parents that raised them, I was like, dude, I get it. You want to know where you're from, who your parents are, biologically, but you're just going to discard these people who took care of you and loved you all these years? Now, granted, to be fair here, Jason has lost his, stepmother and his father. So him wanting to find, a living relative is a lot more understandable. Because he doesn't, he doesn't have anyone currently. So yeah, there's that. There's a tragic end for old Jason. How sad. At least we got Tim Drake later. So there was that. But yeah, this was a really good story. I definitely want to get my own copy in the future. I think this is one I would reread. Even though I would know what happened, but still. It's a great one. And poor Brucey. Also, the bit with Joker becoming a UN ambassador is just, wow. It's kind of genius, though. He's got immunity. Do UN ambassadors still have that much immunity? Would you even get someone who's a psychotic killer? Would that actually happen? Would they just let him be a member of the UN? I get it, the Iranian government appointed him, but fuck. Well, blew up in their faces, didn't it? What idiot's the one that just let it happen? Like, dude, it's the Joker. Are you all retarded or something? Well, anyway, that was the end of that. It was left unresolved, and we lost Jason. But still, a fantastic story. But, well, I don't know here what to recommend you. I'm sure many of you have read this one. If you loved Batman back then, read his comic books. But yeah, this was, and now if you're, young or getting into, Batsy Comics, I would recommend this one. Or if you, like or dislike Jason Todd, I suppose. Alright, folks, so that is it. You let me know what you thought of Batman: A Death in the Family. And remember, collect what you're passionate about and share it on YouTube. Bye!